Welcome to SIG Cloud Provider for Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. We're governed by the Kubernetes Code of Conduct, so please be excellent to one another. And let's take a quick look at our not very filled out agenda. That's on me. We don't have any sub-project updates in writing yet. Does somebody have anything that they want to tell us? Otherwise, we can circle back to those.
I have something, but I ended up adding it to the main agenda, so we can just discuss it later.
Fantastic. We'll pop right over to that then. Okay. Looks like we are going to table a discussion about changing the extraction migration meeting for now. Probably revisit that after the complicated holiday schedule season.
Actually, we just,
yes.
yeah, the conflict we thought we had has kind of dissipated for the moment. So we'll come back to it if the conflict reemerges. I should have added that to the note.
Great. And then upcoming schedule for this meeting. We did already cancel the one that would land during KubeCon. Thank you. I wanted to look ahead and see what was the what. And I saw, I will be gone the Wednesday meeting that we would have the day before US Thanksgiving. Then I'll be there for that one in December. And then Wednesday, December 20th, I'm already out on winter holidays as well. And so then I thought I would check and see, is somebody else going to be available to run those ones? Because if we don't have somebody to run some of these, we're obviously, or people don't think they're going to be present, then we obviously should cancel. So first, November 22nd, do we have people who will be present and or happy to run it?
Which day was that? November.
It's the
22nd?
day before. It's the day before US Thanksgiving.
I mean, I'm planning on being here or being in the office, so I could run it that day if we have a quorum.
If we have quorum, okay. Yeah. Do other people think that they'll be present? We got to know.
I see John vigorously shaking his head. No, that it sounds like it's going to be a good Thanksgiving.
You're gonna be elbow deep in pie crust, huh?
Yeah, I already have plans. I'm not going to be here that Wednesday.
Okay. What do you
think? I mean,
Canadians
have Thanksgiving in October. Clearly, the better month to have Thanksgiving. So I'll be around, but I don't know. Like, I'm also completely fine if we end up canceling.
Okay. And then the other one I wanted to double check on was Wednesday, December 20th.
I am planning to be around. I'm planning to be in the office that day, so I can run the December 20th one as well.
Okay. I'll just put those down so that if you decide to cancel them ad hoc, that's fine. I just wanted to let you know for sure I will not be around for those.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Joel. Joel, have you joined us? Or just scroll down and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Flow service controller reactiveness.
Yeah. So another bug that we've been exploring. When I say we, Grant is actually here. I don't know, Grant, whether you wanted to take over the topic since you've been more into it than I have.
I'll let you take it. I can help out as needed.
Cool. So I believe everything that's in that bug that's important should be publicly viewable without having to log into Red Hat. But basically what we've been seeing, and this has been happening for a while, is that in our E2E tests, we're creating a number of service of type load balancer on GCP. And if we create those concurrently, I think the test suite is currently creating 15 at once. It can take about 15 minutes to actually create all of those load balancers. And we were kind of expecting maybe that would be quicker than that. On other platforms, we're seeing it a little bit quicker. But then we got around to trying there's a flag in the core CCM code, which is concurrent service reconciles. Now, some platforms, e.g. Azure, there's a link to a bug in here, force that to 1, whether you try and change it or not. I think that's what the bug was. Other platforms don't necessarily force you to a value, but it does default to 1. Grant basically did some experiments changing that value up. And if we change that value, say up to 15, then the 15 minutes or however long it took to reconcile those 15 load balancers goes down to about 2.5, 3. So I guess the question here is, has anyone played with this flag before? Has anyone seen issues with this flag before? Can anyone foresee any issues with setting this flag to a value more than 1?
I have a quick clarifying question, just because I did read through the linked issues and whatnot and resolutions from the past. And it kind of sounds like they were seeing some particular behavior when they were starting from 0, when there was none, and then immediately trying to create some. Were you getting this behavior from a case where there was no existing, in this case, GCP load balancer, or was that not a relevant factor?
I don't know the answer to that on this one, but I think there's a slight difference with Azure. All of the load balancers are the same load balancer, as it were, right? There's only one public and one private load balancer. I think with GCP, you get multiple load balancers in either a single backend group or multiple network something groups. I can't remember what they're called, negs. So I don't think it's the same race that we would see in Azure of like, we're trying to create the same load balancer twice. I think this one, it's more like, what it looks to me from the surface is that some part of the GCP CCM, when it's creating the services, is blocking and waiting for something. And when you queue up lots at once, that wait becomes quite long. But I don't know, I've not really studied the code too much yet to understand where that might be.
Hey, John, what was your thought?
In IBM Cloud, we were using the default value of 1. And just recently, I'd say last spring to the summer, we started modifying the setting, and we're now, I think, around the default value of 8 for our latest releases. And it did make a big improvement as far as our deployment times and configuration of multiple load balancers. So,
do you think the improvement came from the service controller core code, where it's just like, yeah, we're going to run this in parallel now? Or do you think it was a saving in your own code? Like, do you know where the slowness was that this kind of improved?
The slowest was in our own code and handling the updates that had to be done to the service, or actually in the deployment of the new service too. There's very long layout or long delays as far as getting updates done in IBM Cloud, and this allowing it to run in parallel significantly helped us.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, I guess it matters a lot depending on the provider implementation, like whether a create load balancer call like waits for, like, as a blocking call waiting for the load balancer to be fully provisioned, or if it's just like it does it async and it does the status update on the next reconcile loop.
There's actually 2 calls here. There's one for that's used on create, and there's another one that's used on update. There's 2 different service sync settings, and we started setting both of them. I have to go look and see what the other setting is called.
Yeah, that'd be helpful as well. Thank you. Anyone any experience specifically on GCP?
No, but I can do some extra research for you. Or I can, you can also reach out to Antonio if he's probably the most involved, like in open source. That's also well connected with the, how the way like load balancer usage on GKE. So,
okay,
yeah,
Antonio O'Hare, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's good. I think we'll continue to do some research internally as well, and obviously share the results as we find them. But yeah, I think we'll try the current service things and increase that and see how we get on there. But yeah, if no one has any screaming objection or worries about it, then yeah, that seems like a potential path forward for us.
Okay, thank you. John, you still have your hand up. Do you have additional things to add?
No, The other setting is concurrent node syncs, which applies, I think, for update operations, and concurrent service syncs applies for the curate ensure load balancer portion. So concurrent node syncs and concurrent service syncs are the two settings we started setting.
Okay. I'll take a look at those. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much, Joel and Grant. Andrew, would you like to talk to us about this admission labeler, persistent volume admission labeler?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the release, we had this plan to work on like an external webhook version of the persistent volume admission labeler. And then some folks from Amazon were also working on like the CCM framework for webhooks, which we can use for this in the future as well. So I have the initial working code kind of committed in this repo, which basically takes like all of the current API server logic and just like ports it into like an external binary with like just the basic webhook server wiring in it. So I think, yeah, just wanted to give an update on that. So like some reviews would be good. I still need to add tests, and we need to productionize it so that we can hook it into Kubernetes CI as the next step. But yeah, just getting like an initial review on the code for now would be good. Yeah, Michael.
So I just had a question, probably because I'm, still have some cap brain going on or whatever, but I remember this came up in discussion about the cap because we wanted to keep that functionality around for people who needed it. Do we need to update the cap with like pointers to this project and stuff once we get, CI in place and stuff like that?
Yeah, probably. That would be good.
I'm just trying to think ahead. So like we're ready to go to GA. Someone doesn't have to do like the same kind of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And like, I think one thing that, when's the code freeze for 129 again? Anyone know? Anyways,
I think it already happened, didn't it? Maybe I'm thinking of cap freeze or
yeah. I think it was cap freeze. Yeah, like ahead of code freeze and doc freeze, like we need to put together a bunch of release notes and doc changes for the graduation to beta. So ideally, before code freeze, like this project is good to go for anyone who like meets the corner case where this webhook is needed. So in addition to the cap, like I think in general, like as an aside, we should probably plan ahead and think about investing a bunch of time into blog posts and release notes and all that stuff.
I was thinking of enhancements freeze. Well, production readiness freeze and an enhancements freeze already happened. Code freeze is next Wednesday, November 1st. Hooray!
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, Andrew. I just pasted that in. One quick question. The intended consumption for anyone who needs the PV admission labeler, is that via the webhook, the CCM webhook?
No, it's just like the CCM webhook framework isn't ready yet to support this. So it's just going to be like, here's a YAML file, like you apply it on your cluster and it'll run like a separate deployment that hosts the webhook. The thing I'm kind of a little hesitant about is like certificate management for the webhook server. So like we could just, like the easy way out is we just document that cert manager is a prerequisite and just like kind of wire in the serving certificates with cert manager. Or we can just kind of document some steps for them to generate the self-signed cert for the webhook server. I don't know what the best approach is, but that's something we should also figure out before we hook it into Kubernetes. Yeah.
On this topic, by the way, if we did have docs updates we wanted to get in, we did miss the open a placeholder PR docs deadline, but I seem to recall the docs deadline is mostly if you have the placeholder PR open by the docs deadline, they guarantee that they will finish reviewing it. So we could certainly still put one in if we had some content ready to go, or if you even knew like where the docs that you want to update would go. Starting a placeholder PR is probably
Did the placeholder PR deadline always come before the code freeze? It's kind of weird that, okay.
I don't know always, but it has for the last couple of releases, and you're not the first one to think there was a little odd.
Okay. Okay. And I just saw Kirthan's comment about his PR for the webhook framework. Walter, do you think you'll have some cycles to help review that one?
When does it need to be reviewed by? Do we have like this weekend, basically? Yeah, I can look at it this weekend.
yeah, it looks like code freeze is right about when people are going to be going trick-or-treating in the US on Halloween. So happy Halloween, happy spooky code freeze.
They also like always manage to like have KubeCon and code freeze like roughly around the same time. So like, yeah, like I was planning to work on slides like this week and next week, and now I'm gonna probably work on the code freeze.
You didn't think that was an accident, did you, Andrew?
Of course not. No.
I happily have no slides to work on due to good life choices of not submitting a talk. So do we, yes, I'm growing as a person. But Andrew, do you think that you want to kind of, if you want to point over on Slack in the direction of, if we can just update this, maybe we can kind of decentralize the work and load balance it across a couple of us? Try to get those in.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to get started on like I was hoping we'd have a blog post for this effort. I don't know about I don't know if the blog post would be like a good enough as docs, like if we go into enough detail, but some sort of blog post or related would be good. So if we can divvy up that work, I think it'd be good.
Okay, let's talk about that offline.
Yeah. In terms of code changes, like I think all the code changes are in, right? I mean, yeah, like we have the cloud admission labeler thing, but like that's mostly like external code changes, and hopefully like the wiring into CI. I mean, that's a test only change as well, so hoping it's not going to be too hard to do. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Michael.
I was just gonna say to Andrew, like, about the blog post thing, did you want to try and maybe like pair up on it if we could like sync up next week or something and see if we could get something written?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Like, I'm happy to help out if you can kind of give me a push, and I can write some stuff, give it back to you for review or whatever.
Yeah, let's definitely collaborate on it. Maybe we just start a Google Doc, and yeah, maybe like whoever from the SIG wants to like help write it, we can just kind of just start writing in the shared Google Doc.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll sync up with you on Slack then, and
Okay.
we'll get a doc started. And at the very least, if you and I start a doc, we can come back here and like put a link in the agenda. So if anybody else wants to find it, they can come back.
Sounds good.
Okay. And I think next thing on our agenda is, Miko, you want to tell us about the SIG update?
Yeah, so this is our maintainer track talk for this year, or this KubeCon. It might seem a little odd for this group that we're doing a talk about the connectivity proxy, but the SIG has, I think in concert with SIG networking, maybe, or SIG API machine, Walter maybe could fill in here, but we're one of the SIGs that's now hosting the connectivity proxy, which is also known by the API server network proxy, API machinery. Thank you. So I guess in a joint move between SIG API machinery and SIG Cloud Provider, we've been hosting their meetings. And so I figured, well, since we've been talking a lot about kind of the path to general availability for the connectivity proxy, this would be an interesting talk to kind of bring to the community. And so hopefully Joseph and I have been working together to put together a talk here, and we'll do a little bit of basic overview of what connectivity is, and then I think Joseph's really going to steal the show with some of the kind of like stories about running connectivity at GKE and whatnot. So I'm really hoping it'll be kind of a cool story about how this thing works, how users could kind of generally improve their security posture by using it. And yeah, hopefully it'll just be a fun time for everybody. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Walter.
Wonderful.
Well, the other thing I would mention, I mean, on the history of this, when we look at all of the various cloud providers, we got started as a SIG to eliminate first and second class cloud providers. And, to do that, we've been trying to eliminate all cloud provider code from Kubernetes. And the very first win this SIG had was getting rid of SSH tunnels. And this is how we did it. So yes, in conjunction with API machinery, but it is still our SIG's first significant win.
That is cool context to know. I didn't know that, and I'm happier to know it now because I can, kind of like talk about it or whatever. But yeah, that's really cool. So anyways, yeah, like we'll see how it goes. Like I'm excited about it. I think Joseph's got some really cool stories to tell. And the things he and I have been going through already, it's like hopefully it'll be helpful for people who've never experienced connectivity before. Hopefully we'll give them a little intro. Joseph will give some cool tales, and then we've got kind of a call to action at the end to get more people involved in the upstream effort and kind of get involved in this pathway from beta to general availability.
Wonderful.
Did you have another question, Walter, or was your hand still just over? Okay, cool.
Well, Michael, if you and Joseph want to run your, deck in progress or whatever past the SIG, I'm sure we'd be happy to give you commentary as you're preparing. So.
Yeah, that's greatly appreciated. I think Joseph and I were planning to do a practice run next week, and we were looking to kind of invite some people. So yeah, I might
Sure.
reach out on Slack and see who's available.
Sounds great. Fantastic. Okay. And it looks like we failed to say the reason for why. Okay, great. Let's see. Kirtan, did we want to talk about your webhook PR at this point? See if I can get this to open.
Sure. I know Nick made give a few comments, but I just want to see if there's another opinion from others before I make changes. That's something.
Okay, so anyone on the call with specific opinions about webhooks?
I had meant to go back and review this, but it just slipped off my radar. I'm sorry, Kirtan.
No problem. I know like everyone is a bit busy with the other, like kept getting in. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, and Walter mentioned he's going to do a pass on it. So,
Okay.
Yeah, is there anything like worth calling out about the PR that might be worth discussing now with everyone here?
Yeah, like I mean, one thing which I took a decision assumed is like once we started web server, like we had to start it the same way, like instead of on localhost, we had to starting the server on zero E0. That way, like we can update the webhook configuration such that all the API servers can connect to the webhook server, and I'm starting the server only on the leader instead of on all the CCM webhooks. I mean, the all the webhook servers they're running. So even though it will follow the similar model to the not the webhook server, the cloud controller, like where if they're running in multiple cloud controllers, but only one is there'll be only one leader. So the webhook server will start only on that leader, and it will update the API server with its IP, such that API server any API server can connect to this webhook server. So this would mean that there would be a small downtime during which the leader change happens, like from one cloud controller to the other cloud controller.
Okay, good to know.
I'm interested in this question. Nick asked if we wanted to allow the user to make this choice. And you replied with like, it's possible to do by taking other input here. And of course, that's how we would implement it, if that's accurate. But I'm curious, like, what do we think? I know Nick isn't here, but I'm going to ask people to imagine, is this a decision that we would want to make a decision, yes or no, like on the merits before we're talking about implementation? Walter?
Sorry, I'm going to step back just slightly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the first thing I would say is when we use the word user, especially from cloud provider, I think we need to be clear as to whether we're talking about, does the cloud provider choose or does the cloud provider's customer choose? And
yeah,
so
that's a really good point.
I would have like, if we want to let the cloud provider choose, I think that's fine. I don't think the cloud providers want their customers necessarily choosing, because this is fundamental to the way a managed Kubernetes runs. The second thing I would say is I think we have one concrete use case, which is the admission, what was it? The PV labeler. And I'm guessing that for the one use case we have, it would already need to be a mutating webhook, right, Andrew? Because we're modifying the annotation. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not saying it necessarily has to dictate the answer, but
yeah, the initial cap was written with, and the example, I was looking at the example, was written with just validating. I thought the PV was a validating webhook, but yeah, I could be wrong. Like, if it's mutating, then
I think it has to be mutating.
Yeah, but I get it. Like, I think like this option is useful because like since we're trying to provide like as a framework, so providing both the options is helpful as per me. Like also.
Okay, that particular one, stood out as like, oh, that's worth discussing. Is there anything else that people see that they think we should discuss while we're all here?
I actually, since we have the author here, I have one sort of question. Do we
Yeah.
actually expect there to be multiple webhooks? Like I'm looking. Oh, can you go up just a little bit? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more. There was a
Mhm.
for loop. Yeah, like line 171.
Yeah. So multiple
Full.
webhooks, so
Oh,
user
it
can
seems to
have
be
like,
frozen.
because this is basically, I went by the options which the webhook configuration have, like where we can specify this. It could be the same server, but with different paths. There could be like different uh, feature which is serving. So that's a reason like why I went with multiple webhooks. Because even if you
I
see the
think
webhook
that's
configuration,
I think that's fine, but if you're going to have multiple webhooks, then the line 174, I think the general Kubernetes preference is that we accumulate the errors and return an array of errors rather than and there's a special error class for returning.
yeah, okay, understood. Okay, sure. I'll take a look. Yes,
Cool, thank you.
thanks.
Okay, great. Making some progress there. Wonderful. I'll just note that we're talking about this over here. Okay, I think we are at the end of our scheduled topics. I don't know if people had any other provider updates they wanted to go back to, or if we should take a quick look at open issues that need triage, perhaps. Oh, we are just on super old ones that we need to go through and determine. Let's just look at one. This is from 2021. It looks like we have lifecycle frozen on this. So why?
A refactor of that interface now seems like a tall order.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you, are the cloud providers confused?
Actually, didn't we do this refactor already? Like CC did a bunch of work, and it's possible that.
Yeah, could we click that CCM interface? I just want to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with Andrew on this one. I think CC did it and just forgot to close out the issue.
Okay. Like this, for example, perhaps? Or
if you scroll down, I'm wondering if there were more PRs referenced.
I didn't see a lot. That's why I was like,
Yeah. Well, I know for sure, like there was a ton of PRs in this area. And so maybe we can just assign it to CC and ask her to close it if she feels that the previous work she's done kind of fixes the problem.
all right. Going back and triaging old things. Okay, I don't want to keep people here indefinitely, so maybe let's just do one more. And that'll take us back through history. Very exciting. Let's see.
I think the answer to this one is we are working towards this and we still have a ways to go.
Okay, I'm not going to even put that then. Let's pick a low-hanging fruit one. Anybody see anything where they're like, oh, that's totally done?
I'm curious about that over-aggressive routes controller.
Where did it, which one? Oh, over aggressive browse controller. It's like a super villain. Oh, it is a detailed Cal report. Let's see. How far did this go? Maybe. Okay. What do you think, Andrew? Did you address this?
It might be somewhere in the history. I remember this. Actually, it's coming back to me. I remember this issue. I think we tried to. Yeah, there were some people who tried to change the routes controller so that, like, basically the problem was every time it tries to sync routes, it needed to do a full list of all the existing routes because it needs to do like a check to see if a CIDR overlaps with an existing CIDR, something like that. And the reason it's over aggressive is because it, like, every event that comes in from the controller requires relist of all nodes and routes, both for the both listing of the nodes and listing of the actual like route entries from the cloud provider. And so that for large clusters, it would become fairly expensive to do that for every single update. I think we tried to like refactor the controller so that it doesn't require the full relist, but I think we kind of we might have just given up on it because the change was getting too complicated, and I think we discussed it wasn't worth the refactor. And then from there, the issue just got stale.
So I have a question for you, Andrew, and it's a total cop-out question, but you know, sometimes copping out is the right answer. Given that route controller is a CCM and is now per cloud provider, at least once we finish migrating everyone to CCM, is this essentially something we can say is a per cloud, can and should be fixed by the cloud provider rather than it being a central Kubernetes piece?
Well, I mean, if the providers are using the routes interface, then it's still kind of our problem.
So we have the default implementation, but I mean, if a cloud provider decides that they don't like the default, they now have the option of overriding, right? A lot more easily than they did before.
Yeah, they could. Like we have like the init controllers. Like we have some function that lets you just like invoke arbitrary controllers. So in theory, you could. Yeah. I think another piece of this was that we could defer to the provider to do some kind of caching on their on the provider implementation. So when we called this like list routes method, usually most implementations will do like an actual list route call like on their APIs, but you can build your provider implementation so that you're just like caching, like you just store a cache of the current routes and you only update your cache state periodically, and then the actual list routes is just listing from your cache. Like that would kind of resolve the issue for most providers, but that involves like the provider like doing the refactoring themselves and knowing that they should use a cached list of routes instead of just calling the API directly. So there's also an argument to make that we should make the interface more intuitive and make it easier so that the controller is more performant. Or like add docs saying you should consider like caching these results because it's expensive. Yeah, Michael, do you have? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
Walter's
yeah.
What I was going to say in regards to this bug though, and kind of the suggestion Walter was making about like, can we, can this be focused more on the individual cloud providers? This is the tough part about us providing a sample implementation though, right? It's kind of both. Like we have to fix the sample implementation if there's a problem there. And the cloud providers who aren't using the sample implementation also have to fix their stuff. So I feel like it has the potential to be the worst of both worlds.
The more I scroll through this, the more I think that maybe this has some pieces that have been finished and then didn't get closed.
So the one suggestion I'm going to make, no matter what else we do, is that I loved Andrew's write-up verbal summary, but in fact, I think it would do us all a favor if we put kind of the current state of the world at the bottom of this, just so that we don't have to
think about it again. I don't think I can accurately summarize it, so I'm going to drop the link into the chat. Andrew, if you want to put a couple notes in there.
Yeah, I could do that.
Sorry for putting you work on you, Andrew.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, this was back when I was like a lot more involved in SIG Network. Like how old is this? Like 20, I think the issue was first created
in 2018. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I'll add some comments.
And I can definitely go loop Cal back in if necessary as well, but he's not really focused on this right now, of course, but okay. All right, look at that. We got a sense of accomplishment because we actually hit some old bugs. Do we have anything else we should talk about today? Okay, it looks like we'll be waiting to hear from Almiko about rehearsals for the Cloud Provider update talk, which will be great. And then I will see you folks in this meeting again in December, but perhaps you'll have it the day before Thanksgiving. All right.
Totally. And I guess see some of y'all at KubeCon too. So.
Yeah, indeed. See a bunch of you there. All right. Take care.
Cool. Later.
Bye.